All right. Have you buckled your Chester belt, Mike?
It's nice and thick today. I don't know what it's going to be holding me back from, but I'm looking forward.
Are you ready to get into Orthodoxy? The first chapter.
Always.
The first chapter. What is the first chapter called?
The Maniac. Oh.
That's right. Now, this song is an 80s dance song. And like most 80s dance songs, it has about 30 seconds before it actually starts into the lyrics. So, yes, Chesterton's first episode, his first chapter is called The Maniac.
Wait, is this from Flashdance? Is this the song Maniac from Flashdance?
Well, I can't have AI copy songs, but it's a...
Oh, yes, it is. That's awesome. I feel the desire to put on some multicolored leg warmers and a leotard dance around. From the movie Flashdance.
I never seen it.
No. We had an LP collection when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. My mom got the Flashdance record, so I had to listen to it.
Okay, here comes the chorus.
Teenage life.
Here comes.
He's a maniac in a ring.
Let's see, it's close.
And he's making crazy
love it. My kids are gonna love this one. The paradoxical. That's awesome.
Just throwing it out.
You're listening to another episode of Chesterton's Gateway with Ethan, Nicolle and Michael Grumbine and me, AI Chesterton. This episode is about crazy people.
That's right. Talking all about crazy people today. First, we're going to rock out a little more.
I feel like pulling a cord and having water come down on me. Did you ever see the video? The MTV video for this song?
I just always think of this song. I love this style of music now. So like. Yep. All right. Well, let's get into it.
Well, you never fail to deliver, Ethan. Very impressive. Brought back a lot of dubious memories from my youth on that one.
So,
match.
Here we are, first chapter. Yeah, The Maniac. So we're getting into
surprising title.
Right, it's an interesting way to start a book.
The Maniac, Chapter 1 of my book Orthodoxy, published in 1908.
Yes, indeed. Is there any preamble you want to give to this, or do you want to jump in?
Well, that's all I was going to say was, if you're writing a book on Orthodoxy, he just told us that he was going to basically defend without getting theological, he was going to defend the worldview of the Apostles' Creed. Mm-hmm. He started out with a chapter about maniacs. Is a very clever, out of left field Chesterton maneuver,
right?
Because you know it's one of the last things you might suspect him talking about. And for those who have the visuals, unlike the usual picture of Chesterton's face behind me, today I have a maniac's face. It's actually a wood cutting carving that was used in a newspaper in the 1800s, and it is about some of the earliest uses of chloroform. This is the chloroforming of a maniac in a mental institution.
Like spraying something at him?
Yeah, they would spray it in on a hose, out of a hose with a pump, and to knock maniacs out. So I got a historic maniac behind me.
Okay. Yeah, and for those of you, if you never check out the YouTube videos, for pretty much all the songs I create I actually create Chesterton AI video content to go with the song. So, for instance, the Little Mermaid, there's actual animated Chesterton Little Mermaid animation playing.
And some of the
really wild.
Hilarious.
The last week's with him in a boy band. I just been working on that.
That got a lot of love. It got a lot of love.
I posted the photo on X, but the video is wild. So, if you're new to our show, because I think there's going to be a lot of people come in and they go, I wanted to get into Orthodoxy. So just as an explanation, what we do in this show is we go word for word through Chesterton. I have a voice generated by 11 Labs AI where I fed Chesterton's real voice into it, so that it's a voice generated by AI and Chesterton's real voice reading his work, which we find entertaining. We take it paragraph by paragraph. Unless it's a long paragraph, we'll break it in half. And then we do about 6 to 7 or 8 paragraphs per show. So to get through Orthodoxy, we're going to be doing 4 or 5 episodes per chapter, because they have long chapters in this. So is there anything else to the preamble there? If you want to get into the early episodes or my book, it's Introduction to Chesterton. I recommend kind of getting your basic understanding of the way Chesterton thinks. That's what the first book I tried to focus on in Chesterton's Gateway. And it's a great introduction because a lot of people read Orthodoxy and they do not finish it, as we mentioned in the introduction episode. So, all that said, let's begin.
However, we are going to finish it.
Yes, we are.
Thoroughly worldly people never understand even the world. They rely altogether on a few cynical maxims which are not true. Once I remember walking with a prosperous publisher who made a remark which I had often heard before. It is indeed almost a motto of the modern world. Yet I had heard it once too often, and I saw suddenly that there was nothing in it. The publisher said of somebody, "That man will get on. He believes in himself." And I remember that as I lifted my head to listen, my eye caught an omnibus on which was written Hanwell. I said to him, "Shall I tell you where the men are who believe most in themselves? For I can tell you. I know of men who believe in themselves more colossally than Napoleon or Caesar. I know where flames the fixed star of certainty and success. I can guide you to the thrones of the supermen. The men who really believe in themselves are all in lunatic asylums."
Oh. Okay, nice little glitch there at the end. Timmy. He went like that character on South Park. Timmy. It's helpful to know.
Yeah.
Hanwell is this insane asylum. I did not know that the first time I read this. It's so helpful to know that. Now, if you're a logical person, you put it together, but I didn't even put it together the first time I read it.
Yeah, it's great because he's talking about a conversation obviously had in the early 1900s where there's buses going by with advertisements on them, and that's the kind of thing you don't really think about that. Like I didn't. That was what struck me the first time I read it. I was like, wait, they had advertising on buses in like. Oh,
I thought it meant it was like the paddy wagon or like some big bus where they like stick the loony bin bus, like they stick them on there and haul them off.
You're probably right. It's
I do like that idea. Like
wagon.
Relatives annoying. Send them to Hanwell. Yeah.
Well, that was a thing. That was like the first mental institutions were designed in England, anyway, in the 1700s for rich people to send their annoying relatives that were really troublesome to. And so, I mean, I'm being flippant.
Didn't the royal family have somebody? They had like a retarded.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, look, you can only interbreed so much before it starts to have an effect. So you got plenty of folks. So yeah, he's starting out by saying like this publisher, he really kind of lays into him in the next paragraph, which I've always found funny.
Next half of this first paragraph.
Right, because we broke it up. Chesterton took a break by yelling Timmy. But Timmy.
He went and turned into a lunatic. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, well, let's finish the paragraph and we'll get into this.
Let's keep going.
The idea of following your dreams or whatever it is, believing in yourself. Yeah. Let's listen.
He said mildly that there were a good many men after all who believed in themselves and who were not in lunatic asylums. Yes, there are, I retorted, and you of all men ought to know them. That drunken poet from whom you would not take a dreary tragedy, he believed in himself. That elderly minister with an epic from whom you were hiding in a back room, he believed in himself. If you consulted your business experience instead of your ugly individualistic philosophy, you would know that believing in himself is one of the commonest signs of a rotter. Actors who can't act believe in themselves, and debtors who won't pay. It would be much truer to say that a man will certainly fail because he believes in himself. Complete self-confidence is not merely a sin. Complete self-confidence is a weakness. Believing utterly in oneself is a hysterical and superstitious belief, like believing in Joanna Southcote. The man who has it has Hanwell written on his face, as plain as it is written on that omnibus. And to all this, my friend the publisher made this very deep and effective reply. Well, if a man is not to believe in himself, in what is he to believe? After a long pause, I replied, I will go home and write a book in answer to that question. This is the book that I have written in answer to it.
All right.
It's a very
There's a
very Chestertonian introduction. Yes.
Yeah, well, he takes the publisher down. Like he's going hard. I mean, I don't know if the guy's his friend or what, but he goes hard
opened a can of worms with Chesterton with the whole believe in yourself thing.
Right. Who knew? Do not utter, sort of trendy truisms around Chesterton, or he'll rip you a new one. He's basically just pointing out that believing in yourself isn't all it's cracked up to be. It's obviously people mean it as he has confidence in himself, but having confidence, as Chesterton's pointing out, is not enough in life.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it can be having too much self-confidence can be a sign that there's something wrong. Joanna Southcote, for the record, was
actually. I wanted to read my note because I was excited about that. When I found this,
good.
I had never heard of her. Now, if you ever listen to the Babylon Bee podcast, we did a whole portion on her after I read this when I was writing this note because
nice.
I love cults and weird cult stories. So I'm going to try to blow through this because it doesn't really pertain, except that it shows how crazy people can get about one thing, and it's about believing in something crazy. But so Joanna Southcott, actually, I think it was he might have misspelled it in the book here, believed that she possessed supernatural gifts. She wrote prophecies in rhyme and announced herself as the woman of the apocalypse, spoken of in Revelation 12:1-6. She sold paper seals of the Lord, which secured a place among the 144,000 people who would be elected to eternal life. You got to respect somebody who can market themselves that way, and it works. I'm amazed at that. I can't imagine walking the street and doing that, and it works. At the age of 64, Southcott affirmed that she was pregnant and would be giving birth to the new Messiah. The day of the Messiah was supposed to be born. On the day the Messiah was to be born, Southcott was in a trance. Turns out she had a disorder which gave her the appearance of being pregnant. This fueled her followers, who reached a number of around 100,000 in 1814, mainly in the London area. And this is a trimmed down version of the whole thing. The official date of her death was given as 27th of December, 1814, but she likely died the previous day as her followers retained her body for some time in the belief that she would be raised from the dead. They agreed to her burial only after the corpse began to decay. Ugh. Followers continued to believe in her after her death and were said to have numbered over 100,000. In 1881, there was an enclave of Southcott followers living in the Chatham area who were distinguished by their long beards and good manners. Did you encounter any Southcottians when you were in England?
I did not.
Okay.
No, I didn't live in that area. I lived in the north. Now, she's quite the
This is my favorite part. Southcott left a sealed wooden box of prophecies with the instruction that it only be opened at a time of national crisis and then only in the presence of all the 24 bishops of the Church of England. Now, as far as we know, it has never been opened, and many fakes have been created, and nobody actually seems to know where the real one is. She prophesied the day of judgment would come in the year 2004. So somewhere out there is the box. Yeah. So that's a fun little old cult. I don't know if there's still any Southcott people.
A little awkward, the whole, if she has over 100,000 followers and there's only 144,000 people that are supposed to be saved and go to heaven, it means most people in heaven are Londoners, apparently.
You got seals, yeah. Huh. Well, didn't that happen with the Jehovah's Witnesses? Didn't they said, 144,000, and they quickly surpassed that, and they changed the story to now the spiritual. What is it like? A spiritual. Why am I blank about the word? I'm blanking on the word when everybody gets taken up to heaven. Rapture. Like say
Rapture,
a spiritual rapture happened or something that we didn't notice because it happened in ghost form or something like that If we have any Jehovah's Witness listeners that can correct me.
Yeah.
All right.
It does get awkward when people start taking those numbers literally.
Yeah. All right. Is there anything about that else about that? That was a lot on that, but
no, Drano South Coat or Cot or however you say it is
a side road.
Yeah, but a nice one. It's fun. Like Chesterton obviously has no love for the spiritualists of the 18th and 19th century. So
he has like mysticism in a certain sense.
Yeah, but not in the English spiritualism sense of mysticism.
Right.
Not in the communion with the dead and all that stuff.
Right. All right, we'll continue on.
But I think this book may well start where our argument started, in the neighborhood of the madhouse. Modern masters of science are much impressed with the need of beginning all inquiry with a fact. The ancient masters of religion were quite equally impressed with that necessity. They began with the fact of sin, a fact as practical as potatoes. Whether or no man could be washed in miraculous waters, there was no doubt at any rate that he wanted washing. But certain religious leaders in London, not mere materialists, have begun in our day not to deny the highly disputable water, but to deny the indisputable dirt. Certain new theologians dispute original sin, which is the only part of Christian theology which can really be proved. Some followers of the Reverend R.J. Campbell, in their almost too fastidious spirituality, admit divine sinlessness, which they cannot see even in their dreams. But they essentially deny human sin, which they can see in the street. The strongest saints and the strongest skeptics alike took positive evil as the starting point of their argument. If it be true, as it certainly is, that a man can feel exquisite happiness in skinning a cat, then the religious philosopher can only draw one of two deductions. He must either deny the existence of God, as all atheists do, or he must deny the present union between God and man, as all Christians do. The new theologians seem to think it a highly rationalistic solution to deny the cat.
All right. R.J. Campbell.
Did you have a note on him in your book?
I have the note from my book, if you want me to read it. R.J. Campbell was a British Congregationalist and Anglican divine, became a popular preacher while he was the minister at the City Temple and a leading exponent of the New Theology movement of 1907. He was a socialist, and it seems he was not a believer in the infallibility of Scripture. He ended up believing in reincarnation later on after this book was written. I guess he's like sort of an 1800s Rob Bell or something. If you guys know your new theology type guys.
I mean, and he's good looking like Rob Bell too. But
oh yeah, you remember? I've never seen a picture of him. Yeah, we'll throw an overlay here.
Yeah, but he was kind of he didn't have a facial hair. He had this sort of nice, strong chin, very un-English of him, and good hair, good looking guy. But he shifted. He basically ended up with a view that Jesus was a kind of socialist. And so he actually ran as a socialist. It prompted him to run as in the early Labour Party that we get at the beginning of its time in England. But most importantly, he started out by doing things like preaching against things like drunkenness and talking rather disparagingly about the average London man. And then when he spoke so effectively, he got mobs that came angrily at him. And so then he kind of shifted his theology, and he started talking about how really we're not, there is no original sin. It's just what, the evils that society and, men that have chosen evil, of their own free will have foisted upon us that makes people bad. And so, if there are a lot of drunken factory workers, it's only because, you've been put in this awful condition of working in factories that's led you to this. So for Chesterton's purpose, he's doing the one thing, which is one of the most idiotic things anyway in theology, which is to deny the idea of original sin, to deny the idea that human beings have a bent towards sin, towards disorder. We can do good and we can do evil, but we seem to have a bent. And Chesterton, I think, is pointing that out. He says that the fact of sin, a fact as practical as potatoes. That it's obvious when you look over history that man is engaged continuously in a lot of evil things, from wars, to greed, to wars for greed, and oppression of fellow man. And we don't seem, as Rousseau might have claimed, we don't seem to be sort of this in a state of grace to begin with, and then being corrupted by outside things. But we seem to start that way, and you can kind of see it. Like if you've watched 2-year-olds play with each other, almost always it devolves into some kind of at least 2-year-old boys. It'll almost always devolve into some kind of fight of a sort, or a competition in which violence is an option. And
right.
and it's not because we've taught them. We don't act that way to each other. We don't go around punching our people all the time, or wrestling with them and screaming at them when they don't do what we like. That's at least not normal. So you can't say it's a learned behavior. So it has to be kind of original. And so
right.
Chesterton is just pointing out, look, common sense tells us sin is a thing. And that's where everyone starts. I am a little worried about his exquisite happiness in skinning a cat. That's I've never skinned a cat.
Phil. I mean, I think all he's saying that there are psychos out there who would really love doing psychotic things. I think he's saying he finds it exciting. That's how I took that. If it be true, as it certainly is, that a man can feel exquisite happiness in skinning a cat, then the religious philosopher can only. Now, I want to make sure I understand his analogy here. That either you must either deny the existence of God, as all atheists do. So basically, because then it's not wrong to skin the cat, right?
Yeah.
Because what we're trying to argue is that it's wrong.
There is no moral law.
Even though a guy can, so even though you can feel pleasure doing it, doesn't make it right. And for it to be wrong, it's either you got to have the existence of God. If you deny that, as all atheists do, then he's just skinning a cat, whatever, right? Or you must deny the present union between God and man, which is what Christians do. The third option is to deny the cat, which is what
that's what R.J. Campbell would do. That's what the new theologians do. They deny, imagine you come upon a situation
like the robber baron made you skin a cat. I don't know.
Well, and also, skinning a cat itself isn't sin. Just deny that there's sin. It doesn't. This is a.
Or I think the sin is doing it for the purpose of pleasure.
Yeah.
Right.
And
so
I suppose that's right. I guess there are situations where you could be starving and have to eat a cat, and so presumably you'd have to skin it first.
Yeah, you do it selflessly and save you
for the sake of survival. But So he's talking about a situation where it's a silly thing to deny that we have that bent towards sin.
Right. So he's just saying, basically denying sin, Right. I'm just trying to make sure I actually get the analogy. Okay. Continuing on then.
In this remarkable situation, it is plainly not now possible, with any hope of a universal appeal, to start, as our fathers did, with the fact of sin. This very fact, which was to them and is to me as plain as a pikestaff, is the very fact that has been specially diluted or denied. But though moderns deny the existence of sin, I do not think that they have yet denied the existence of a lunatic asylum. We all agree still that there is a collapse of the intellect as unmistakable as a falling house. Men deny hell, but not, as yet, Hanwell. For the purpose of our primary argument, the one may very well stand where the other stood. I mean that as all thoughts and theories were once judged by whether they tended to make a man lose his soul, so for our present purpose all modern thoughts and theories may be judged by whether they tend to make a man lose his wits.
Right.
Yeah.
So here he's pointing out, look, there are a bunch of people that have lost their common sense and they deny sin, but what they don't deny at the very least is that a man can become insane and that's a bad thing. And so what we can do is we can look at an idea so that even the moderns can agree with us. We can look at an idea and say, what kind of ideas lead one to lose your wits? And those would be the things to avoid, even for a modern.
And his definition of losing your wits doesn't necessarily mean getting in a straitjacket and a padded cell. It means that you have to head into and he starts to define what insanity looks like as he goes through the chapter here. Right?
Yes.
I think it's kind of like, okay.
Yes,
as you can see, though I've read this book probably 5 or 6 times at this point, I still am grasping Chesterton's analogies.
Well, a lot of what he's saying is very deep. Like he quickly passes over these ideas that there's been tremendous theological debate about for centuries, and so his mind is very agile, and so you kind of got to go through carefully. I have to point out that he is going to keep returning to the man that is actually in the insane asylum. But like you said, there are other ways to lose your wits, and he's going to talk about how it. Like the insane man in this, there are a number of philosophies and beliefs that would lead one to the kind of myopia, as he's going to point out, that the insane man has, that the maniac has.
Right. Okay. This next paragraph is broken up. It'll be the last one I read, but this is the first half of it.
It is true that some speak lightly and loosely of insanity as in itself attractive. But a moment's thought will show that if disease is beautiful, it is generally someone else's disease. A blind man may be picturesque, but it requires 2 eyes to see the picture. And similarly, even the wildest poetry of insanity can only be enjoyed by the sane. To the insane man, his insanity is quite prosaic, because it is quite true. A man who thinks himself a chicken is to himself as ordinary as a chicken. A man who thinks he is a bit of glass is to himself as dull as a bit of glass. It is the homogeneity of his mind which makes him dull and which makes him mad. It is only because we see the irony of his idea that we think him even amusing. It is only because he does not see the irony of his idea that he is put in Hanwell at all. Brake added. In short, oddities only...
Thanks, Chesterton. No, break was added. You weren't supposed to read that. All right.
That's all right. That's right.
So here he's opening up a really critical point that he's going to return to again, and it is in that word homogeneity. So he's first pointing out that, of course, we see it as kind of a picturesque or a weird, something to be chuckled at even sometimes, like the way that a person who is a maniac acts is sometimes kind of funny. But the only reason it's funny to us is because we see the contrast of the way they're acting versus the way the world actually is. That's where the irony that he's talking about comes in. For the insane person, it's just they're acting completely rationally. It's just normal because what they believe. They have a homogeneity of mind, which means they can't hold ideas that are different from each other in tension with each other. They hone in on one idea, and they make sure everything fits that one idea, and that's what they dwell on. He's going to go more into that.
Right? Later. Yeah, they see everything with one lens.
There's one lens.
Yeah, this reminds me of I used to work graveyard shift at Chevron in Coos Bay, Oregon, and this guy named Crazy Bert would come by. He wore this big plaid sports coat with a bucket hat, and he'll kind of look, other than that, he looked kind of like Colonel Sanders. And he'd carry a tennis racket everywhere, and you'd ask him why and he apparently, this is true, he used to be a college professor who gave very long lectures, was very intelligent. And so he'd speak in lecture format. If you'd ask him a question or he'd just come talk to you, you ask him why he carries a tennis racket. He'd go into this long thing about, number one, how he uses it for self-defense. And he'll have all these stories about fighting off. And he tells quite racist stories at times about his different ways he's used it in San Francisco and different places. And then also that he is the foremost athlete in the world. Like he believes that he is the foremost authority of all athletics. He would tell that's a quote. And then he had this whole theory that that there were these dark entities, these forces, like kind of secret agents that would follow him around in order to get his sperm to impregnate the women, either whether it be him being paired up with these beautiful women or getting, I don't know exactly, but he would point out celebrities and say, "That's my son," with a quivering lip and tears in his eyes. He'd say, "Pat Sajak is my son. Mike Tyson is my son." He believed that his sperm had been taken and used to create all these magnificent people. And he lived in this world and believed these things. He was haunted by them. He believed that people came into the vents at night. And he told me, you know how I know they do it? I woke up in the morning and my underwear on backwards. But see, I can laugh at that. He really believes it. I loved him. Like, I loved his stories. He was so crazy, just so much fun. But man, I never know what happened to him. It could have been good.
I had a good friend that worked with the head injured as a caretaker, and we would stop by and see him sometimes. We were allowed to in some situations, depending on the patient. And some of these people they're actually very endearing. It wasn't uncomfortable, and obviously you don't laugh in their faces, at least
right.
Especially if they're sensitive to that. But they have this just sort of insane magnifying lens. It reminds me of those massive. We used to take. We never skinned cats when I was a kid, but we did take these huge. My dad bought us once one of these sheet magnifiers, like 3 foot by 4 foot sheet, and you could crack cement and light and basically anything on fire with it. And,
just with sunlight.
Yeah, with sunlight. But when you looked at something through it, with the magnification was so powerful, it was unrecognizable because you were looking at such a tiny part of a thing. And that's what their theories of these head injured. It sounds like crazy bird. Is that what that's what it reminded me of was they were looking at the real world. It wasn't like they were looking at a different world from us, but they only saw such a small part of it that it was indistinguishable. It was unrecognizable compared to the world that we saw. And so it was everything fit into that one lens. Like anything that came in from the outside had to be fit to that one lens.
Right.
So anyway.
Did we finish it?
Is that our final paragraph for this one, or are we continuing on?
Did we just read it when he said, "In short, oddities only strike ordinary people"?
No, we did not. Sorry.
Okay, let's read that. Okay.
In short, oddities only strike ordinary people. Oddities do not strike odd people. This is why ordinary people have a much more exciting time, while odd people are always complaining of the dullness of life. This is also why the new novels die so quickly, and why the old fairy tales endure forever. The old fairy tale makes the hero a normal human boy. It is his adventures that are startling. They startle him because he is normal. But in the modern psychological novel, the hero is abnormal. The center is not central. Hence, the fiercest adventures fail to affect him adequately, and the book is monotonous. You can make a story out of a hero among dragons, but not out of a dragon among dragons. The fairy tale discusses what a sane man will do in a mad world. The sober, realistic novel of today discusses what an essential lunatic will do in a dull world.
I love this. I love this part. He's going to have a chapter about the ethics of Elfland, but this, which is I think it's my favorite chapter of this book. But here he's bringing it up, and he's not just bringing up fairy tales as a tool to contrast. He is doing that, but he's also bringing it up because he's pointing out that in the fairy tales there's something enduring that we always return to. And part of it, that saying, is that you have a normal person that goes on a crazy adventure. And my favorite fairy story, which is Tolkien, is of exactly that type. The reason hobbits are beloved in Tolkien is because hobbits are famously, Tolkien was very clear about that. They are just like the average rural Englishman is a hobbit. That's where the character of the hobbits came from. They are the normal people in a fantastical world of crazy, of dragons and dark lords and magic and goblins. And so this is this is really true. And it's much more interesting than the jaded anti-hero that is, affected by nothing because he's so broken inside, which is the sort of paradigm for a lot of modern novels.
Yes. All right. Well, I agree with that. I had people in my head of things that I do love just the picture of Samwise Gamgee is kind of, I remember hearing like he's the true hero, right? He's the.
Well, yeah, Tolkien says it in one of his letters. He says the hero of the story is Sam.
And it's fascinating to make the sidekick the hero.
The true hero. Yeah.
But he is the most humble, most modest. Yeah.
And at multiple points.
And I think of people, when I think of Samwise, there's people I think of and go, yeah, that's a Samwise.
Yes, exactly. People like Sam. Whereas I don't know anybody like an Aragorn or a Gandalf. They're larger than life characters.
Right. Yeah. You might think of them if you think, maybe celebrities or something, but I bet if you got to know those people, they wouldn't be that.
No, not really. Yeah.
It is really like the greatest thing you can be is that Samwise person. It's a real attainable character you can become, but we all try to be these ones that aren't possible. They're not real.
But that is why, like, Tolkien has endured, and literally thousands and thousands of books written since his fantasy novels. I mean, he basically invented the fantasy genre as such, and thousands of authors and hundreds of thousands of books that have been written since then are utterly forgettable, and no one in 50 years, 100 years don't care about them.
Yeah,
because he's.
Oops.
All right,
next supposed to be quieter. Yeah, he's a maniac. We're going to keep learning about the Maniac next week on part 2. I think this is going to be a 5-parter, 4 or 5. So we're only beginning to scratch the surface here. In fact, this is kind of this is probably the shortest episode of the series of this chapter. So moving on.
Singing the praises of hobbits, so there's nothing wrong with being short.
That's right. Exactly.
I love this. I'm going to have to go and listen to this Maniac song now.
Oh, yeah. Listen to Chesterton's Gateway, the band, on Spotify, Apple Music, most of the music platforms.
Chesterton's Gateway is produced by Ethan Nicolle and Michael Grumbine. It is based on the book of the same name, which can be found on that capitalist monstrosity Amazon.com. Send questions and comments to chestertonsgateway@gmail.com. And join us on Patreon, where only the true Chestertonians can be found. Goodbye.
Yes, join us on Patreon. Get to dig into the Orthodoxy talk we got going on there, and we'll answer your questions, interact, get early episodes, all that stuff. All right, see you next time. Bye. How do you dance this?
Well, I guess I can do an 80s dance, but you would lose me out of the brain very quickly.
Yeah, you can't. Oh, yeah, it's pretty wild.
It's like Ace Ventura.
You gotta dance